Welcome to the Brass and Woodwind shop. I have a flute in my shop today that is a very common problem. Right at the end of the flute, the ring came unsoldered, and that is also known as a 1/3 ring. And the reason that's called a 1/3 ring is because if you put the foot joint on, that looks like 2/3 of a ring, and that looks like 1/3 of a ring. So this is known as a 2/3 ring, and this is known as a 1/3 ring. Usually when those come unsoldered, they stay on the flute, but they just get pushed in farther rather than come off. The way you can tell it's coming off is when you put the foot joint on, then usually there's a gap in between those rings. When you pull the foot joint off, usually you can see a black solder mark around where the ring was originally. And if you don't deal with this problem, what happens is when you put the foot joint on, the foot joint can start to go on crooked, and it can make more problems in the long run. So that is something you should take care of, but it's not hard to fix. The first thing to do is take off the left-hand stack of keys, and you want to do that because this pad is really close to where you're going to be soldering, and you don't want to burn the pad. So let's pull that off. Okay, sometimes these keys are hard to get off without also taking the right-hand stack of keys off. So if you need to pull those keys off too, you can. In this case, I don't think that I do. Sometimes you just have to wiggle them a bit and then they'll come off. There we go. If you want to, you can also pull off the trill keys. There are some corks there that can get burned if you're not careful with the fire. But if you're good at controlling the fire, you should be able to avoid those corks. Next, we need to remove the ring so that we can clean up underneath it so that the solder will stick. I do that with a pad slick. You can use other things too. You just need something that's not sharp and won't scratch up the body of the instrument. And then you just put your thumb there and just carefully push it a little bit. And then you just go around. You just go around the body of the instrument. Just push a little bit and then turn. And eventually it will come off. Sometimes this takes a little while, but it will come off. There. It's almost off. There we go. And there's the ring. It's very small and it's soft, and you could easily squish it with your fingers if you wanted to. Where the old solder was on the inside of the ring and also on the flute that needs to be cleaned up. You can tell the old solder is oxidized because it turns a dark gray in color. Then you can use a solder scraper to scrape off the old solder. Just be careful not to get the body of the flute where the silver plating is. You just want to get where the old solder is and clean that up. I got the solder off of the flute and also the inside of the ring. And it is important that you get that solder off because new solder does not stick to oxidized solder. Next thing to do is check to see if the ring is flat. A lot of times they are not. I have a jeweler's anvil and it's a very flat steel surface. You hold it up to a light and you look at it, and if you do that you can tell where the bend is. You can tell where the bend is by just rocking it back and forth, and you can see where it is. And then after you figure it out, you put it on the edge of the block and just kind of push down a little bit, and then you repeat. And look again. Figure out where the little spots are. You just keep doing that until it gets straight, and usually it doesn't take too long. And this is a very soft metal, so usually it's pretty easy to do. Okay. Once it's been flattened out, you're ready to put it back together. So just slide it on and make sure that the flat side is towards the outside and that the sharp side is towards the inside of the flute. So just slide that on approximately to where it needs to be. Then I need to get my flute body mandrel, which is right here. The flute body mandrel is in the vise. Take the foot joint, put it on the flute body mandrel, and then take the flute and put it on. And then just slide those together and put it to where it needs to be. And the reason we're doing that is when we solder it, we want to make sure it's straight. And this body mandrel is making sure everything is straight, so that when everything is all done, the foot joint is not on there crooked. We don't want a crooked foot joint. So look around there, make sure that it is right up to the 2/3 ring. Okay, that's good. And now I'm going to carefully slide it apart. You don't want to move anything at this point. Let's see, take that off, take that off. I'll turn that around and put it on there. And now I'm going to solder. You don't want to slide it all the way on and solder over the mandrel. You want it hollow underneath where you're going to be soldering. Now this is ready to solder. I have some very thin gauge solder that I'm going to use for this repair. You can also use the thicker stuff too, but this stuff seems to work a little better for this particular job. And it doesn't take a lot of heat. And this is one of the easiest solder joints there is. Now I'll put some flux on there. And for more soldering videos, look in the description below for some links. And then just a little drop of solder will do it usually, and then just go around there with the heat. You can see this does not take a lot of effort to do. Okay, I think we're good. Just look around all the way, make sure that the solder has gone around. I think it has. So we're done. Since this is acid flux, I don't want it eating away at the instrument, so I'm going to neutralize it. And I just have a trombone spray bottle. It has like 3/4 water and about 1/4 ammonia in it, and that just helps to neutralize the flux. And just wipe off the excess. There it is, it's all done. And this solder joint came out good. They don't always come out quite this good, so if you do make a mess, there are ways of cleaning it up. Then all that's left to do is check to see if the foot joint's on there straight and that there aren't any gaps. And this looks good, so we're done. Now all that's left is putting the keys back on. The best way to do a solder joint is so that it doesn't need any cleanup, but often they do need cleanup. But that's for another video. Also look in the link below for other videos on soldering and cleaning up solder, and also flute videos. Thank you for watching, and I hope this has been helpful.